Hello, welcome to my channel. This is BK. In this tutorial, I will be showing you how to make this beautiful A-line tunic or top. So let's get started. I laid the fabric down right side together and folded. So the first thing you do is you get your shoulder to shoulder measurement and you divide it by 2. So I'm marking mine down here. It's 8, so I'm just marking mine right down there. So I'm also adding 5 inches to the 8. So that will be 13 inches in total. So this line is a little bit faint. I don't know why my marker is not really marking this properly, but I hope you can see it. So I'm also going to mark 4 inches, which is going to be for the neck. So all depends on what you want. But I want my neck to be a little bit wider, so I'm using 4 inches. So at the 13 inch, at the end of the line, the 13 inches line, you have to measure down 2.5 inches, like so. Then I'm going to connect the 2.5 inches line to the 4 inches line of the neck, just like that. On the shoulder measurement that you measured, which is shoulder to shoulder divided by 2, you're going to mark down your armhole. Mine is 9 inches. So I'm going to start measuring from the slanted line, the line that connected the 4 inches of the neck to the end of the line of the shoulder. So I'm measuring my 9 inches armhole all the way down. So at that end of the 9 inches, I'm going to draw a line. This is going to be the bust. Measure your bust, divide it by 4. So whatever you get, you're going to mark it down on the line. So what I did also is that I added 1.5 inches to that line. Like so. So at your bust measurement, the end of your bust measurement right there, you measure down 1 inch, like that. Then you're gonna at the corner here, I'm just kind of connecting my bust measurement with the 1.5 measurement here. So at that corner right there, I'm just going to mark out 1/2 inch at that angle right there. So I'm now going to connect the end of that line to that 1 inch that is down below the bust line. Here is a closer look. So that line right there is the bust line, and it goes there. So I added 1.5 inch and I marked it right there. So right at the bust measurement, I also add 1 inch all the way down, like that. So right in that middle of that angle, I just added 1/2 inch. So I'm connecting the line from the end of that line to that 1 inch down that I made. So it's supposed to be a curve. So I'm connecting the line from the slanted shoulder line to the bust line, that is the 1.5 inches added to the bust line, that end of it right there. So I'm connecting those two lines. This would be our sleeve. So what I'm doing again is I'm just going to use my curve ruler to just put a little curve in between of the sleeve. I mean, it's not compulsory, but it's just way of me doing the sleeve. I mean, I just like curving my sleeve that way. So go ahead and measure how long you want your top to be and mark it. So here's another look. So I'm measuring how long I want that top to be, and I'm marking it right down there. So I'm going to shift it a little bit because so you can see it properly. Okay, so I'm marking down that line. I'm using my hips measurement for this line, and I'm adding 2 inches to my hips measurement. So I'm marking the measurement down on that line. Then I'll be connecting that line to the 1 inch line that is under my bust line. So it's going to be slanted like an A line. So I'll be connecting that line together like so. Just make sure that the line is straight. So, and at the end of it all, sometimes I like to make a curve at the side seam. So I'm just going to measure 1 inch, and I would just kind of connect this 1 inch to that hemline. Also, this is not compulsory, it's just me doing this, or something I love to do, so it's not compulsory at all. We're going back up to the neck. So I'm trying to cut out the neck. So I measured 4 inches, and if you don't want yours to be that big, you can use 3. And again, I also want my neck to be 7 inches deep. Also, if you don't want it to be that deep, you can use 5. Then on the 7 inch, you'll mark out a line like so. Then you can also get your curve ruler and connect from the neck, 4 inches of a neck, to that line of the 7 inches that you just drawed out. So I'm using my curve ruler to measure this out, and that is the neck. Go ahead and cut it all out. That's the front of the top. To cut the back, we're placing the top on the back. So we're also making sure that the fabric has the right side together and is on fold, just like we did the front part. For the back neck, we're just going to measure 2 inches down. Then we just use a curve ruler or just use your hand to trace and connect it to the shoulder like so. Go ahead and trace and start cutting it out using the front as a trace like so. Also, before I finish cutting, I just remembered that I need to I want the back to be longer than the front, so I'm just adding 2 inches to the back of the fabric. I also added 1 inch to the line. Then I'm going to connect it to the 1 inch to the bust line, the 1 inch under the bust line. Then you can continue cutting. If you also want to add a curve to it, just measure out 1 inch and connect the line to the hemline just like I did the front part. Then cut it off, and that's it. So now we have the top and the back, or the front and the back. I love pockets, so I'm going to add pocket to it. So to cut out the pocket, you just have to place your hand on the fabric and trace around or mark around your hand, just like I'm doing right here. So go ahead and cut out the mark you mark. You're going to need 4 of this for the 2 pockets. I notice I have enough for the sash. So with right side together, I'm going to use my waist measurement for the length and 5 inches for the width. So here is it all cut out. 2 pieces. Here I'm cutting the facing. So I put a fabric on fold, I put the back neck on it, and I'm going to trace it out, and I will cut it on 2 inches. I will do the same thing for the front neck also. Now that we're done cutting, let's start sewing. I'm going to start with the pocket. That's if you choose the option of a pocket. So I'll measure down 8 inches or 7 from the armhole. Then I'm going to go ahead and put one of the pocket with right side facing each other on it after I marked out the 8 inches or 7 inches. So I'm going to pin it down. I will do the same to the other side, and remember, the right side of the bodice and the right side of the pocket are facing each other, and this is going to be on each, the front and the back bodice. I've gone ahead and I've attached the pocket to the bodice, and I've also finished the edges. So when I got done attaching the pocket, I pressed it out like so. So I pressed all the sides out. So I'm going to go ahead and add the back bodice to the front bodice. Then we'll be going to sew the shoulder with 1/2 inch seam allowance right on top, right there. I've joined the seam together at the shoulder with right side facing. I also went ahead and finished the edges of the seam at the shoulder. So once you're done, let's go ahead and pin down the seam, the side seam. So make sure you pin everything down, and once you get to the pockets, also pin the pockets together all the way down to the end of the seam. When you start sewing and you get to the top, 1/2 inch at the top of the pocket, you sew it around the pocket. Then you come out and you continue your sewing all the way down. Once you start sewing the side seam and you get to 1/2 inch after the pocket, you stop, you raise your presser foot and make sure your needle is down, then tilt it to the side, tilt your fabric to the side, then sew around the pocket. at half an inch seam allowance. Once you get to the end of the pocket, remember you're sewing at half an inch seam allowance. So you sew past the side seam and make sure it's aligned to the half an inch that you've been sewing right from the top. So keep going on the side, and once you get to 1.5 inches before the end of the seam, you can stop there. If you don't want the little slit, go ahead and sew it all the way down. That's the slit, and that's the pocket all the way around. I've finished the side seam. I've also gone ahead and finished the edges of the pocket and the edges of the sleeve. So take the sleeve and fold it in 3/4 of an inch, pin it around, then take it to the machine and sew it, the both side of a sleeve. I'm done with the sleeve, and I've also gone ahead and ironed it, the two sides of the sleeve. So we're going to go to the hem. So at the hem, we're going to fold it in 3/4 of an inch, like so, and you sew it all the way down. You can pin it in before you sew it. So, and you do the same also to the top or the front. Yeah, the front. Let's do the neck. So if you choose the option of not using the facing, go ahead and fold it in two like you see in the video, then sew it all around, and that would be it, just like so. But if you choose to use the facing, let's continue. Take the front facing with right side facing up and the back facing with right side facing down. Join the both of them at each corner, take it to the machine and sew it together. Here is what it looks like after I got done sewing it. I also went ahead and finished the edges of the facing. So I'm going to take my dress or top, then I'm going to place the facing on each. The front facing will be facing the front, making sure the right side are facing each other, are on each other. So I'm just starting by the shoulder. So the seam of the shoulder, I'm putting it together with the seam of the facing. So I'm going to go ahead and pin everything together. When you're done pinning, take it to the machine and sew it all around. Make sure the right sides are facing each other. So here is it. I'm done stitching it together. So I also went to the ironing table and iron it. So I make sure the seam is facing the facing. So when I'm ironing it the seam towards the facing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do a top stitch on top of the facing, making sure that the seam is facing the facing. You know, that the seam is on the facing. Do not iron it towards the bodice. Make sure you iron it towards the facing. Then go ahead and do a top stitch very close to that to the stitch, right on top of the facing. I'm done top stitching on top of the facing. So here's what it looks like. You see that little top stitch right there? And I'm sewing it on the facing and not on the bodice. So make sure the seam is facing towards the facing. Hope you're not confused by my facing words. So at the end of it all, take a needle and hem it down. So if you choose the option of a sash, take the sash and stitch it in one side, one end, like so. The sash is your waist measurement as a length and 5 inches as a width. We're cutting 2 pieces. So go ahead and fold it in one end, stitch it from the corner all the way and stop in the middle. Take the other end of the sash, also fold it and stitch it together, right side in, from one corner to the middle, and make sure you stop and leave a space in the middle. That space is what you're going to use in turning it out. I'm done sewing it around and I'm using the little opening to turn it inside out. And when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and iron it. So here is it. I've ironed it and I've also closed up that little opening. And that's it. That's the end of the tutorial. If you like this tutorial, give it a thumb up. And if you're a new subscriber, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Stay blessed and have fun. Bye.